you laugh, it's funny. No? You agree?
Yes!
I love you, brother.
Yes!
Mr. Woods?
We told you so. I told us so. I told us so. We told us so. But last night, the world also told us so. When Lord of the Rings of Power finally aired on Amazon for the masses to consume. And the reviews are not going well. Now, I have lots to say about it. A lot. And I'm going to try to be as impartial as possible, but can we take just 1 second to say... It has a 36% audience score. 36. A 36% audience score. $1 billion. The most expensive television program in history has a 36% audience score. Now that's on 4,000 ratings. We all know that there are plenty lining up to defend Tolkien. I'm pretty sure Mr. Bezos is going to need a change of undergarments after he sees this disaster. And I've got the perfect sponsor for him. Check this out. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor. That's right, Sheath. These boxers are designed to keep your balls off your legs. Sheath has 3 individual compartments to keep everything down there separate and cool and comfortable. And hey, since they've been a long-time sponsor, I've heard from many of you who have tried out Sheath and really love it. They were invented by a U.S. Army soldier who came up with the idea for Sheath during his second tour in Iraq, where it was hot as heck and his boys needed to breathe. And on top of all sorts of awesome designs for Sheath, they've added all sorts of winter items, hoodies, gator necks, and all sorts of base layers. Head on over to the link in the description and pin comment down below. Use my promo code to save and support the channel and keep everything nice, cool, and dry. Now, I want to say some things about Lord of the Rings of Power, the Ring-a-ling-a-ding-dong. I want to start with the positive, the optimistic, the lefty-lofty. You know, I made my editor, a proud leftist, make the intro to this video, so I knew it would cause him extra pain as he gave the show an 8.5. Love you, Lofty. Been doing great work for me for a long time. But leave a like and subscribe down below to, you know, definitely not laugh at his pain. But 36 is a little low. Not a ton. If I had to score, no, let me tell you, let me give you some reasons to be optimistic, okay? First of all, visually it looks great. You can see every penny that they put into the show. Just because you spend money, though, does not mean the show is going to be amazing or it's going to be legendary or any of this kind of stuff. So, but it looks good at times. The shot of Sauron looks awesome. There's some cool shots. I hear you saying, oh, they spent $1 billion. There should be. Yes, we agree. Okay, stop yelling at me. Also, there are many shows that are deep in my heart that, like, the first episode sucked. You know, like, sometimes the first season is really so. Like, Trailer Park Boys. You know, it seems like an odd comparison. But while I have seen the first season, I enjoyed it. I think most people generally agree, like, season 2, 3 through 5 or 6 are the absolute gold. Those are the ones I rewatch. There's a lot of shows that kind of start off slow and get their stuff together, and Rings of Power absolutely better bring everything it's got in episode 3. The other thing is it has a huge uphill battle because just like, for example, the Eternals where they had they had a freaking dozen characters that most people didn't know or care about, and they had to try and make everyone care about them in 2 hours, and it failed miserably. Maybe that would have been a better movie if they had split some of those newer characters into smaller groups, or some that were introduced them earlier. That's why I believe it failed. There are other reasons why the movie stunk too, but I mean, for the most part, you had all these characters and expected everyone to suddenly care about them. You're suffering from that a little bit in Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, because we've been introduced to, for the overwhelming majority of Tolkien fans, all new characters. I mean, yes, Sauron is a thing, an ominous thing, an ominous big bad. However, for the most part, yes, Galadriel, but it's not the same Galadriel. It's a perversion of Galadriel. So it's like you don't find any kind of like, you know, real like love there, any connection there. So it's all these new characters that I'm suddenly supposed to care about, and I just don't. And maybe I will over more time. So I think they had a huge uphill battle in terms of like being able to make people care. However, it is not impossible to do a prequel well. If we look at House of the Dragon, it has an 84% critic score and an 85% audience score. Why? Because not because it's not like woke and forwardly and obviously feminist, where every major character is a strong independent woman who don't need no man, but because they still kind of respected the lore and didn't disrespect it. And so they didn't have this huge animosity with fans like right away on, Jump Street, which is the primary difference. There was a lot of people. So, I mean, I think, you had a bunch of people who were already kind of predetermined to dislike this show that were really happy and waiting to review it, which probably drug it down a little bit. I think that the most charitable score I could give the first 2 episodes of this series would be like a 4.5 to a 5.5, somewhere in there out of 10, which is abysmal, which is embarrassing, which is terrible, which is it is ominous for the future of the show. I'm choosing to, remember the times that there were many shows that I think were, here's a perfect example of another, like, you should dispel this like woke stuff, right? If you look at The Sandman, like extremely woke, race swapping, gender swapping, all this kind of stuff, 82% audience score, right? You can kind of like this idea that people are just downvoting stuff because LGBTQ representation is absurd. There's not enough people who downvote stuff. It's because they disrespected Tolkien. Now I want to talk about, kind of spoiler free, except for one scene, which was kind of already part of the trailers. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is, as I've mentioned, some of the scenes and the shots are very beautiful. There are also several member berries for true Tolkien fans in that series, and basically any scene involving Sauron is pretty compelling. And from there to the bad. The dialogue is extraordinarily bad. Clumsy, useless, overbearing, over explaining things. It's like they were trying to fill out more episodes when they were trying to like add more dialogue where they didn't need it. Like they were trying to needlessly explain things that you could see on the screen. There was this time where people are like literally coming to tell Elrond that somebody's returned, and he's like, well, why didn't you tell me? But like they're literally there to tell him that she returned. It was just like dumb stuff like that. The pace is painstakingly low and not slow. And I'm not talking about a slow burn, because I absolutely love slow burn movies. They're my all-time favorite. The slower the burn, the better the payoff. But if you don't have a payoff, you have a disaster. What you have here is not a slow burn. You just have slow. And just to put things in comparison, after 2 hours of The Rings of Power, if you've watched it, or if you haven't watched it, we would have already been at Balrog in Fellowship. Like an epic scene, action scene, right? Nothing's really happened in The Rings of Power of that magnitude in 2 hours. The Harfoots kind of suck. They're dumb. And I'm looking at some of my notes. The pacing I talked about. I also noticed, and this is just modern TV. It's not so much the message, so to speak, but it's just this is the way the Hollywood is. Almost every major group of people on this show are represented by a woman, a strong, independent women who don't need no man. Look, I get it. You want to make more strong females, role models, this and that. Okay, fine. But like, I'm supposed to believe, like, if I watch Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, it's like every powerful person in an era in which the men were historically the ones in charge suddenly is now a woman. Like, at least give a guy like a 50-50 split. And even 50-50 would be absolutely insane if we're like being historically timely accurate. So it's like noticeable. It's like, oh, it's another strong independent woman. Oh, another strong independent woman. Oh, another strong independent woman. Oh, here's a guy, but he's kind of femmy. Oh, here's another strong independent woman. It's like, we get it. Women, good, cool. But like, come on. The other thing is, unfortunately, I thought the acting is completely forgettable. And the person that they put at the forefront of this entire show, it is not the Rings of Power, it is the Galadriel show, is insufferable. I don't think it's very well acted. It's kind of forgettable. I wouldn't say bad, I would just say immemorable. And it's just, her character sucks. She's a total, let me give you a scene, okay, that really encapsulates Galadriel and why she sucks as a main character. There's a scene where they're fighting a snow troll or an ice troll or whatever. I don't remember. I'm not like a deep Tolkien lore person. Like in the D&D manual of Tolkien, are ice trolls exceedingly weak compared to cave trolls? Because in the Fellowship, or in the Tolkien stories, they face a cave troll. It takes the entire Fellowship, and they still almost lose. And Frodo almost gets extinguished in that very scene to one cave troll. And you have Gimli, and you have Aragorn, you have everybody there, and they still barely beat it, right? In the Rings of Power, Galadriel single-handedly, flawless victory, takes on and defeats an ice troll. A troll that had just mowed down a bunch of other people, and the scene is so cringy. She's like flipping through the air like Crouching Tiger, and she's just like shing, shoo, 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 dead. No struggle, no fight. She just destroys it with zero concern. And at that moment, it's like, oh, I get it. It sucks. Like, Galadriel sucks. They made her way too OP, like they always do. And like, that's it. Galadriel ruins it because she's too OP. The other characters are kind of lame and forgettable, but the dwarves are kind of cool at times. But like, I'm hoping sincerely that stuff better hit the fan in episode 3 and 4. Or, think about 5 seasons of this. 5 seasons of this. It's not looking good. I'd be curious to hear your comments in the comment section down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.